Well, hello everyone. This is Ethics. Hey, so man, I gotta be honest. I felt it last class, man. That not being in the classroom business, not having a whiteboard, just antsy. Sitting still like this and then one place and not being able to roam the room, yeah. This is going to be a little bit rough to try and patch and work through. But I'm trying, all right? Because I even just realized that I totally spaced on assigning you guys the reading in the intro section in your text on egoism. It's all right, because you can read it now if you like, or you can go forward and read it. But we'll be covering it a bit today anyway. So rough or easy, antsy or not, I will make sure you all have everything you need to be successful. Because I'm doing this for you. No. And also a paycheck. But, no, I'm adapting. I'm enduring. I will endure. We will endure. Feels like we got to give speeches now about all of this stuff. Because I think the time demands it, all right? There's no more. It's no more a time for us to be will-I-ams, all right? You've got to grow and adapt and become will we are. Yeah, you're welcome for that one. Anyway, y'all are funny, man. I'm just going to tell you straight up. I thought y'all were funny. Your discussions and engagements and thoughts, that sort of thing. So, when we were talking about defining the word game, all right? Discussing and defining the word game. There were multiple definitions, all right? You had stuff like something you play for sport, play for fun. You had entertainment, competitive, co-op. You had for a prize, rules, in competition, something done independently. You could have a singular game, independent. You had mind games like puzzles. Something physical was another thing you guys said. Physical, in nature, something in person, infotainment, things like that. So here's where it's interesting when we look at our whole list of a game, right? Sports, fun, entertainment, competitive, co-op, prizes, rules, independent or like by yourself, mind games, physical games, board games, video games, card games, etc., etc., etc. Whatever the hell Twister is, besides just code for something else. Like I don't know, man, if somebody was just like, you want to come over and play Twister? I'm probably going to be like, you just want to get physical with me, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm not going to say no. I just be real. Don't try to pretend to play Twister, because that's just a weird recommendation. Let's play Twister. Anyway, so the thing is, and this is where we run into an issue, we need a definition of a definition. I'm going to say clarification, at least, because a lot of these definitions or a lot of these deconstructions seemingly conflict or contradict with the other definitions, right? Because you're saying a game can be done by yourself, or it's done cooperatively. It's done with other people. It's either done competitively, where you're working against someone, or it's done working together, and that's still a game. It could be for a prize and not for a prize. It could be rules, no rules. It could be physical in nature, not physical. It could be in person and not in person. It could be meant for entertainment and doesn't entertain, right? You've got all of those things. You've got game to hunt. You have cheeky little love games, right? Do you love me? Are you playing your love games with me? I'm old Greg. In case any of you don't know what that is. So, how can that be? How can you have a word or a concept of something that has contradicting definitions? Right? This mug cannot be both empty and full. You can't have those contradictions. And then the science nerds go, technically it's always full. It's only that the substance it's filled with changes. Okay. Then let's take it a different direction. You cannot have a round square, or you cannot have a married bachelor. So the fact that we have game have multiple definitions, and those definitions can oftentimes not only conflict, but are also contradictory. You cannot have something be it and its contradiction at the same time. So I guess that means game can be whatever we want. That there is, in fact, no such thing as game. Except, what if you really have feelings for someone? Okay? You really feel, you're smitten, okay? And then they tell you that they don't reciprocate those feelings. What if you were told you were a game? What if you were told you were entertainment? Are you going to be like, oh, they always come up with the cutest pet names for me. We are so in love. No, you're going to know what they mean, right? There's a difference between a healthy, loving relationship and relating to someone who uses you to play mind games, love games, it's for entertainment, or you're a prize. I am not a prize to be won. Jasmine, Aladdin, right? Anytime if there was any sort of social gathering and all of a sudden a creepy clown puppet rides in on a tricycle and the doors and the windows all just get barred shut and they're like, boom, 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 and the clown is like, you're now all part of my game. You're not going to be like, fun. I'm so excited. I love games. You're going to kick the clown puppet over. Someone's going to try to crawl through the ceiling and get their head, I don't know, trapped in a bear trap or something, right? Creepy stuff will happen. You know what is a game and what is not. Rough. But that's where we're getting with in terms of objectivism itself. It's saying, I believe X exists. And I believe this is X, but I could be wrong. Game itself, game as a concept exists, even though it's defined quite differently by different people, and has often conflicting and contradicting definitions. It's how you're hurt if someone calls you a game. Ugh, that hurts. You were just a game. But you're flattered when someone says you have game, right? Thank you. Game, 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 game. If you don't jump to put jeans on, baby, you don't feel my pain. See, believing that the concept of game existing, even if it's difficult to define, game as a concept exists and is not based on my opinion. I don't get to just call anything I want game. I can't be like, your mom's a game. That is how we sort out what objectivism is. To say as an objectivist, I believe in a right and or a wrong. I just may not know exactly what the right and or wrong is. And just because I don't know doesn't mean that there is no such thing as concepts of right and or wrong. Humility isn't a weakness, okay? At least not in terms of philosophy and philosophic thought. See, this chair is comfy. This coffee is tasty. Those are personal, subjective statements. The comfort of the chair, the tastiness of the coffee is dependent on who is sitting in the chair and drinking the coffee. What is problematic with relativism is that the concepts of comfort and tastiness necessarily must exist in order for us to even talk about them. Coffee, yeah. Why are you putting that in quotes? And compare, the concepts of tastiness and comfort must exist for us to even talk about and compare how something can be comfortable. You've probably all heard, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? Have you all heard that? That statement doesn't mean that there's no such thing as a concept of beauty. It doesn't mean that beauty is relative and beauty doesn't exist. It means that beauty is relational. That's what I was getting at. Relational versus relative. Beauty, the concept, has to exist outside and independent of each of us in order for us all to relate to different things and think of them as beautiful. The chair is comfy. The coffee is tasty. The face in the mirror is beautiful. Subjective statements whose truth necessarily depends on who is making the statements. The truth of the comfort of the chair, the truth of the tastiness of the coffee, the beauty and the reflection in the mirror, all is dependent on who is sitting, who is drinking the coffee, and who's looking in the mirror. The ethical relativist holds the same goes for morality. The truth of the ethical statement, abortion is wrong, or stealing is wrong, or lemonade is wrong, is dependent on who is making the statement. But again, it's problematic because the concept of right and wrong must exist just like the concept of comfort and tastiness and beauty in order to even make the statement. God exists. Is that a relative statement, a subjective statement, or an objective statement? Obviously, God exists. Probably relative? No. Obviously, God exists, and he put your mom in a wheelchair. Whoa, rough, right? Subjective, defensive, probably a little more like objective, like we want to fight someone. But regardless of what you believe, the statement God exists is an objective statement. Because God either exists or doesn't exist. And the truth or falseness of the statement does not depend on you or what you think or what you feel or what you believe. And so with this, you see how this is kind of tricky? Yeah, it is. It's all just vodka. No, today I actually put coconut milk in, like legit coconut milk, and it feels greasy, but it feels great because there's like a whole bunch of oil on my coffee now, and I'm like, my lips are puckery. So, yeah, it's decaf coffee with coconut milk in there. Anyway, all right. You see how tricky this is? Because how does a relativist approach the statement God exists? How would you even as a relativist approach that? By saying something like the contradiction, there is no such thing as God? Well, then all you're saying is that you don't believe that the statement God exists is true. Except the statement's truth value, whether it's true or false, doesn't depend on what you believe about it. And while absolutist or absolutism would approach the claim and add to it, they would say something like, God does exist, and here's the exact definition of God, and all others are wrong. An objectivist simply recognizes the objectiveness of the statement and adds, I don't know, or I could be wrong. The truth of whether or not God exists does not depend on whether or not you believe in it, or I believe in it, nor how many of us collectively believe. The truth of whether or not God exists does not depend on you. But I think you can say, I believe in God exists. It's kind of funky and it seems linguistically clunky, but that is the objectivist sort of thing. I believe in the statement God exists. I believe in God exists. And that makes me an objectivist. And I may have a belief as to what that God is, but I could be wrong. Or I believe God exists, but I don't rightly know how exactly to define the God that I believe exists. Or I could always learn more, and that could change my view, my thoughts. Wow, that's quite a start to that afternoon special. For access to the full video, or to get the full course, or just support me making new content that has everything or nothing to do with what you just watched, head on over to my Patreon, link in the bio. Join the community. I'd love to see you there and have you become a part of something bigger than me, but something where I can play my part just the same. See you there.